Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Immersive Podcast. Welcome back, audience. Welcome back, me, and welcome our guest, Brett Lloyd. We took a little bit of a break. I had, for those of you who don't know, I had to have a little bit of a nose surgery. No big deal. I am coming to you from Germany, and I'm here with our guest today, Brett Lloyd. He's an author, he's a channel, and he is a medium. Brett, nice to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Tyler. It's a real honor to be here. I've really enjoyed our conversation prior to hitting the record button, and I'm certain we're going to have a fantastic discussion, and I'm anxious to share my experiences
Absolutely.
with everybody who's watching and listening.
Thank you for being here. So, first off, I would just like to say a quick shout out to the affiliate sponsors of the show, Galactic Federation of Light. We appreciate you, Doton and Tavel, so much. The link is always in the bio. If you use the code Tyler33, you will get a free hat. If the hat's in your cart, you can just get a free hat for logging on there and typing in code. And of course, I like to shout out Gaia and Unified TV because, well, they both do great things. They do a little bit of different things, and there's no reason that we have to have competition everywhere. So, Gaia, we appreciate you. We look forward to doing some things with you in the future. And Unified, there is a link for Unified TV in the bio for a free trial. And if you do the year subscription, you also get free access to all their live events. So that's something that's kind of a cool little perk. Gotta throw love to those people that support you, that appreciate you. And just a thank you to Source and God and Brett for being here today. So Brett is a man of many talents. Like myself, used to be a musician, and now he is on the spiritual path, much more so than the musician path, just as myself. So I was looking much forward to having this conversation. We have a lot of things in common. For those of you guys who know, I've lost a lot of weight recently. I've made a lot of transformations physically, and that's something that has happened to Brett. Also, he's somebody who is on the carnivore diet. Do you want to tell us a little bit about give us a little bit of background on what you're doing these days, what you're promoting?
Thank you very much, Tyler. It's a real pleasure to speak with you and your audience. Yeah, I grew up in Huntington, West Virginia. A million years ago. Grew up, we had a big old vegetable garden. My parents thought we were living the high life. You had fresh vegetables year round. If it wasn't picked that day, it was canned. We had plenty of meat. Our plate looked like the rainbow. My parents were following the food pyramid. And out of the four of us, my father passed away in 2020 from type 2 diabetes for 20 plus years that no doctor ever told him he could reverse. My sister, my little baby 6-foot-tall sisters, almost died a couple of times due to IBS complications, ulcerative colitis. And here recently, she had to have her appendix removed after it started leaking.
Thanks.
And I suffered from chronic mental illness for 43 years of my life. Took medication for 23 years. Long story short, I was blessed in January of 2018. I weighed 289 pounds, was on 7 or 8 different psych meds, antipsychotics, SSRIs, Ativan for the anxiety, and then I took trazodone to help me go to sleep at night. And I was in a drug haze for years. I shudder to think what my brain chemistry looks like compared to what it should look like. Anyway, but I was blessed to come across, I used to watch a lot of Dr. Jordan Peterson videos because I found him very, very entertaining, the way he could shut down media with logic and common sense.
Absolutely. I'm a fan as well.
And I was watching him on the Joe Rogan show. I saw a 30-minute cutout, and he explained in a way that my craziness I could part the madness enough to understand that his daughter figured out if she only ate beef, salt, and water, she lost chronic depression, anxiety issues, and she eliminated her arthritis that she had lost 2 joints to. And
I recall that episode, actually, hearing that.
And if it's anybody but Jordan Peterson telling me this, I'm switching the channel because you know as well as I do, Tyler, just eating meat, that's crazy. That's nuts.
Right.
But
and when you're in that state, just listening to another person at all it's got to be the right person at the right time.
And exactly. And part of his routine is don't lie, tell the truth. or at least don't lie. And so there's a man of great credibility and integrity as far as I was concerned. And my wife came home from work that day, and I said, you got to watch this with me, because sometimes I was so sick I couldn't accurately perceive my environment. So what I think I was hearing wasn't necessarily exactly what was being said, etc. And she watched it with me, and she said, yeah, you got it right. That's exactly what he's saying is you can try this, and these things are going to happen. And I did some investigating and heard from some other reliable people that had great credibility and integrity as well. July 16th, 2018, I started the carnivore lifestyle. That was over 2,300 days ago. Today is my 23rd, 101st consecutive day of only eating meat and only drinking water. And my major depression with psychotic features was gone in 24 days. The chronic anxiety was gone in 6 months, and the insomnia was gone in 10 months. And I've been completely symptom-free since. It's been over 6 years. I haven't had a headache in over 6 years. My quality of life is ridiculous because of the carnivore lifestyle. I truly experienced, and still to this day experience, effortless daily happiness. I wake up in a great mood. I'm ready to do what I know I need to do during the day, and life is just something I really look forward to. Without carnivore, none of the spiritualism things that we're going to end up getting into could ever have occurred.
It's amazing.
I was born a Protestant, and then I experienced human hypocrisy for the first time as a late teenager. And so I adopted a hedonistic lifestyle, which didn't serve me very well. It was fun in the beginning, but it tended to not go well.
Yeah, it tends to wean in fun and get a little dark.
I was married for about 10 years and learned I was a very bad husband. We had a horrible marriage. I was mostly responsible for that because I started experiencing depression symptoms when I was around the age of 15. And I would make really bad decisions, really bad choices. Just wasn't a good scene. She and I got divorced, and I met my present wife, my final wife. Thankfully, we've been together 27 years, married for 26.
Yeah, congratulations.
Moved to South Carolina at the time, and which is where my second wife resided. We lived there for 16 years. I took meds as prescribed for my mental illness. They never really did much good for me. I had many periods of, I would feel better for a short period of time, and then the bottom would fall out again. And they would increase my meds or change my meds. I was constantly on this medication all around. Well, I haven't had any medication. I'm 63 years old now. I take no pharmaceutical meds whatsoever. I don't need them. I'm not suffering from a lack of pharmaceuticals. I get proper nourishment for my body. Life is great. My wife and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I love the picture that you painted there, because it's, of course, it's obviously a thing in America where a lot of people are on prescription medications. And I preach similar, try to stay away from those medications, especially for people who are not yet on them, because I have been down that path myself where for well over a decade, or at that time, it was more than half my life that I was on those types of medications too. And I was put on them when I didn't really know what else to do. I didn't know what, you just do what the doctor says at the time because you're suffering. And like you said, you make bad decisions because you're suffering.
That's
so
correct.
You take what might be an answer, and you painted a picture there that doesn't necessarily, shame those who are on medications, but it paints a picture of hope for people who, like myself, and I know many others feel the same way, that am I ever going to be able to get off these medications? Is there a life without these medications? And I think the answer is obviously yes. For most people, there probably is. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving that advice. I just really liked the way that you painted that picture. So I just wanted to give credit where credit's due.
One of the reasons that I do interviews is especially carnivore related health journey interviews is because people need to realize you don't have to be a slave to a pill. You don't have to suffer. You're not put here to suffer. And we were all taught to eat things that most of us probably should never have put into our mouth the first time. People need to know you don't have to suffer. There is hope. There are solutions. There are many alternative ways of living that can work for you to your advantage. And it's really important. And I wasn't thinking about becoming a big carnivore diet advocate, but I did one interview and I thought half the audience will like it, the other half, they might not. That's okay. But I'll have gotten that out of my system and can move on. But the response was overwhelmingly positive, and I got this voice message from a young man around 22, 23, who said, Brett, I'm really glad you did this interview because of what you said. I decided I no longer wanted to kill myself. And when you hear something like that,
Amen.
I was like, okay, God, I'm a little slow on the uptake here, but I kind of think you're telling me I need to keep
giving me a little
advocating for this. And so I became a carnivore coach. I teach people how to succeed at it. And interestingly enough, when I was doing coaching sessions, I now know it was my head filling up with energy. But at the time I thought, when I'm concentrating really hard on somebody, my head feels this certain way. Interesting. I never thought that much about it. And I'll come back. That'll make sense. I put that in there for a reason. It'll make sense here later when we get into the spiritual side of things.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, I'll circle back. I'll do a circle back, I promise. Anyway, I loved seeing working with people and seeing the light come on in their eyes. They start the session, they're looking hopeless. They're on as many meds as I used to be, in some cases more. They're very low energy. They're sick or tired of being sick and tired. And I could share my experience and see the light of hope come on in their eyes. And that made it all worthwhile for me.
Very rewarding in and of itself.
Early 2023, my wife and I come across a documentary on Netflix called Ancient Apocalypse, narrated by a guy named Graham Hancock.
Yeah.
And we got sucked into that completely. We loved it. We were just like, gosh, look at how old that is. And it's mentioned in the Bible. It's mentioned in the Sumerian text, and then the Bible copies a lot of the Sumerian text. What's going on here? And I always had some questions in the back of my mind about Catholicism, but I never asked. But then those questions started rearing their ugly heads, and Catholicism couldn't answer them.
Right.
My favorite example of this is, okay, there was Adam and Eve, and they had Cain and Abel. So there's 4 people on planet Earth, according to the Genesis story. Well, Cain gets jealous of Abel, kills Abel. God kicks Cain out of the garden. What's the first thing? There's only 3 people on planet Earth now.
I've had a similar thought.
and Cain gets kicked out of the garden. What's the first thing he does? He gets a wife.
Right.
Where does she come from? Exactly.
Highly metaphorical story, of course.
Of course it is, but still the logic and whatnot. I'm like, I want it, and it's a mystery. It's a mystery. I needed more than that. And so finally one day I look at my wife and I say, honey, I can't go to mass anymore because I would be living a lie.
Yeah.
There's just too many questions. And, finding out that, maybe the human species wasn't created the way the Bible says it was. And there's a lot of evidence to support that, especially when you start looking at human physiology from an anthropological perspective. And
100%.
Our DNA was altered, which is
so we're
scientifically proven.
A little bit about the Anunnaki theory, the ancient astronaut type of theories, etc.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fun. I'm actually reading, I've read a lot on the Anunnaki, but I'm reading a new book on the Anunnaki right now, just because I, have been piqued in the interest. Actually, I think what piqued my interest was I was in London a couple of weeks ago. I went to the British Museum and I saw the Sumerian tablets, like the actual ones, which was really cool. And what I was thinking when you were saying that, it's like, which Bible? And it's a very valid question that people do not ask. It's, I mean, astounding how few. I mean, because I grew up Catholic, actually. It's astounding how many, born and bred, tried and true Catholics or Christians are not really aware. They know that there's a King James version and like a New International version, and that they're slightly translated different. But most people don't seem to be aware that there's a complete other set of a few other gospels and just books taken out over hundreds, thousands of years by popes. And this is not like conspiracy. This is not anything crazy. This is just fact of history that, that's why we have a King James version of the Bible. And then, I also find it pretty astounding that the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in 1949 or something, and we're still, that was 75 years ago. Like, why are we not talking about the Epic of Gilgamesh and those stories a little bit more? They give answers to some of those questions, or they give a lot more answers than the Book of Genesis on its own.
Absolutely. And it was interesting. I wanted Catholicism to work for me. I mean, I worked really hard at it, and it wasn't a decision I made lightly at all. And so we didn't go to Mass for 2 weeks after that. And then I realized, okay, we've got the Guide channel. We're getting all this information. We're learning a lot, but we need a community. Got to have a community, because we're not going to learn what we need to know without people with more experience and understanding than what we have.
And fellowship.
Because we were playing catch up at this time. I was about to turn 60. My wife was just a little over 60 at the time. And anyway,
it's okay. That
started looking for a community and go on Google. Jacksonville, Florida is where we live. There's 1.2 million people here. Surely there's got to be a community that we can go to of like-minded people.
Right.
And nothing kept showing up that was resonating with me. But there was this one name that kept showing up, and I kept looking at it thinking, that's just too far out there. It was called the Cosmic Church of Truth. And I finally clicked on it and read about it, and I'm like, wow, this looks very cool. And so I showed my wife the website and the Facebook page, and she's like, well, we can go one Sunday. It won't hurt.
Yeah, check it out.
Oh, Tyler, we're 3 steps inside the door of this place. And immediately I hear a woman I've never met runs up and gives me a big hug, yelling, look, new energy. And my wife and I immediately felt at home, loved the people, loved just the vibe was amazing. And on Friday nights, they still have it, a mediumship circle class.
Wow.
And my wife and I were both immediately drawn to that class.
Very, very
and
cool.
So we started attending. And I went in it with the attitude, Tyler, of I'm brand new. I'm a newbie. I don't know anything. I've got to be patient. This is going to take a while. Be calm. Just let it all happen.
Let it unfold.
And 6 weeks into that class, my wife is seeing stuff left and right. Turns out she's very clairvoyant. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not hearing anything. And I'm getting frustrated thinking, what am I not doing? And I kept hearing about meditation. You need to meditate. And I had always been, especially when I was Catholic, I thought meditate. Why would I want to clear my mind? And when we were taught as Catholics to always have our minds focused on Christ. So
dialogue with God. Yeah,
exactly. So
I've heard it said that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening.
That's exactly right. I agree with that 1,000%. So in June of 2024 or 2023, I go to YouTube, beginner meditations, 5-minute guided meditations to 8-minute to 10, and gradually worked my way up to where I didn't need the guided meditation anymore. Read about TM, a little bit, transcendental meditation, came up with my own mantra that I was comfortable with. And after about 6 to 8 weeks, I was able to get in a really good meditative state, learn about my guardian angel, names of my guides, etc. Was making progress The night of August 4th of 2023, I approached that class as if it were another form of meditation. And I put myself in a meditative state. I could still hear what was going on in the class. I could participate when I wanted to, needed to. And Tyler, suddenly in my mind's eye, I saw this beautiful golden ball of energy on my right side of my mind's eye. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's me. That's my energy. Wow. Finally.
Wow.
Excellent.
Pure joy.
And then a few moments later, in the left side of my mind's eye, a blue ball of energy appears. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's not me. What's going on here? And the teacher had always told us, if you see something, feel something, hear something that you don't understand, that you're uncomfortable with, bring it to the group. So I brought to the group what I was seeing. And all the teacher said was, sounds like somebody might be doing some channeling soon. And I thought, huh? Me? Now, we had the guy's subscription. I'd already seen, Bashar and watched Sheila Gillette channel the Theo and Wendy Kennedy channel the Pleiadians and all this. And I was very impressed, but it was not something I thought, ooh, that would be cool. Because I thought I still didn't have a real high opinion of myself after all those years of being crazy. I'm like, why would somebody want to speak through a former insane man who spends his weekends playing loud rock and roll in bars and clubs? I just don't think that's going to happen.
The criteria is different than we think.
I didn't say anything else about it, but 5 minutes later, a very talented young man named Drew came to me and said, Brett, I want you to know that standing on your left side is an extraterrestrial with sapphire-colored eyes, and they want you to know that if you're willing, you can make a connection with them. My intuition just literally almost jumped out in the floor to yell at me, say yes, say yes, say yes.
It was
and so obvious. I said yes. And in that moment, I was connected with a 10,000-year-old light energy being of Arcturian descent by the name of Orna, O-R-N-A.
And that's your book, correct? The Words of Orna is
the Words of Orna. Those are all her words. They're not mine. And life has just transformed in so many beautiful ways with her presence. It was interesting, on the way home from that class, me and my wife rode in a car together to that class, and I assumed me and my wife would be the ones going home, but it was not just me and my wife, it was me and my wife and Orna. How am I going to share this with my wife in a way my wife doesn't think I've gone crazy again?
Now, where was your wife at this point? You said she had started to develop clairvoyant, tendencies and abilities and things like that. Was she kind of developing along the same lines, or was
we've been walking parallel paths, but she's more of an earth magic type somebody. She loves working with crystals. She's taken a different path than I am specifically, but we're walking side by side.
Absolutely.
And she's probably more powerful than I am, truth be told. She's just not the extrovert that I am.
Yeah, it's no contest.
She's more introverted. And anyway, so my wife's watching all this, and my wife said she came up with 3 possibilities. Either you've become the greatest con guy in the world, but that would mean the guy who told you about the sapphire-colored extraterrestrial would have to have been in on it, and you don't even know where he lives or what his phone number is, so I knew that couldn't be it. Or you had gone crazy again, and it was just a different kind of crazy than what you were experiencing before.
That's really
interesting. Or you were telling the truth.
Right.
And she decided...
it's just true.
Yeah, so she decided to go with Brett's telling the truth. But Orna immediately started giving me instruction through downloads. She explained that she's here on a mission from Source to assist with the ascension of the planet from the 3rd to the 5th dimension. And she's got a message focused on love is the universal tool. Love will raise the planet to the 5th dimension. Love is the answer to every problem or solution. ask yourself, what would love do? That's her message. Which,
of course,
wow.
and with a little more authentic love in this world, I truly believe in the collective consciousness, in the Earth as a quote unquote super organism. And for you hear about Dolores, like you'll hear Dolores Cannon, for example, talking about the Mayans and why they're not here anymore, and why when they ascended, or what our ascension process, in the here and now may look like, depending on the way things go collectively. I really, really, truly believe in that there is something to this critical mass theory, so to speak, where it's just going to take enough people to be in that frequency that we need to be in, which is that frequency of love. And that's, they say, authenticity is the other one that we like to throw in there. But at our true core, at our true authentic core, I believe that's what we are. That's what we all want, and that's what we all want to do. We want to love. We want to be loved. We want to share, and that's love. We want to connect. That's what it is. I think love and authenticity go hand in hand, and I really agree with you there. Well, with Orna.
She hasn't been wrong yet about anything to my knowledge. Anyway, she began downloading information into me. She connects to me. When I was the summer between the 5th and 6th grade, I got hit by a car riding a bicycle. Wow. And I had minor, insignificant, if you can call it, ever call brain damage insignificant, brain damage that could not be detected with the equipment of the early 70s.
Okay,
and
I get what you
Orna
mean.
uses that flaw to connect with me telepathically. So she's with me 24/7. The only time she's not with me is when me and my wife want some private time together.
Orna's not involved in that. I got you.
Orna's not a voyeur. Not like that. Get out of here. Okay. Anyway.
Orna, get out of here. Shut the door. That's funny.
I've never needed to say that to her, thankfully. But we joke about it. Fortunately, she's got an incredible sense of humor. And I learned so much so quickly.
Yeah.
She showed up August 4th. The Cosmic Church of Truth, the second Saturday of every month, they have a psychic fair fundraiser for the church to keep the lights on, doors open, etc.
Of course.
November, I was one of the readers for the first time in my life because of what she had shown me. And I had learned in doing the readings that I had actually been doing readings through all those coaching sessions I mentioned earlier. Right. When my feeling that I would get in my head was my head filling up with energy. And basically I was doing readings without knowing I was doing readings.
Right. Going into that flow state, so to speak, almost kind of like a trance state, maybe that state that you get in kind of like when you're playing music and you're lost. You're just doing it.
Just completely. And there would be times that my vibration, one of my signature songs, cover tunes was Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb. And I would vibrate so high at that, I would get emotional.
Yeah.
At different times, because I would get right up against that fourth dimensional line, that veil. And I would just, trying to sing while you're crying, as you well know, is not easy.
Yeah, I do know.
But I would go to these jam nights, some of the finest music, and the musicians in Florida are just all of great caliber. I mean, Florida is one of the most musical states I've ever seen in my life, and people treat musicians with respect here, which is very different than other parts of the country.
Good observation. People know I'm also from Florida. It's I've lived in Tampa and Jacksonville and other cities near. Well, Jacksonville, there's not really any other cities near, but the music scenes everywhere I've ever lived in Florida have always been prime.
Yeah, and I would get standing ovations, and I would be told by other men, no one gets standing ovations. But my spirit, and somebody told me, you're channeling source energy when you're doing that.
Yep. It's an energy thing, brother. It
And I
really
had no
is.
idea. So anyway, it's been an crazy year since Orna showed up. I've been doing readings. I've done every readings at every psychic fair except for the month of January of 2024. I love it. There's nothing more set. That first weekend, as I mentioned when we were talking earlier, I realized halfway through it, I'm going to end up having to give up live performance for this because I need to
It's on the
focus all my
weekends.
energy and become all that I'm supposed to be. This is what my purpose has always been.
And it's so
And
beautiful.
thank you. It's to say it's improved my quality of life is an understatement and a half. I'm just always in a positive state of mind. I look forward to every opportunity to serve others. The book came about because Orna had done her research before she connected with me. And you're familiar with this as well. If you want to be on Gaia, you want to be on Next Level Soul, things like that,
Yeah.
you got to have a book
Yeah, you
because they
do.
won't pay
Usually.
attention to you pretty much otherwise if you don't have a
Gotta be
book.
some body of work of some type. Yeah.
So that's where that's Orna first. After teaching me what she wanted me to know, the next thing was to channel a book. And we were fortunate to find a lady who worked with us through the completion of the book. She's no longer associated with us, but we appreciate her efforts on behalf of making the book possible.
Absolutely.
Yes, Orna. She would ask. Orna would tell me, okay, our sessions would be on Wednesday. Okay, on Tuesday or Monday, she would say, okay, I want to talk about the importance of strong families, or I want to talk about explain death, what death really is, etc. And then this other lady would be like the facilitator. I would
Okay.
channel Orna. Orna would make her opening statement, and then this other lady would ask questions based off of what Orna said. And it worked out beautifully. I am not the author of that book. That's Orna's book. The
It's
only thing I
Orna.
wrote was a preface. Every word in
Okay.
there I channeled belonged to Orna.
I'm gonna get myself a copy, but we'll also put the link in the bio here. So if hopefully
Thank
a
you
few
very
folks want to
much.
check it out. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you're motivated, if you're resonating with this and you want to get a book, I'd appreciate it if you would write a review and put it up on the Amazon
Absolutely.
page.
That means a lot for the author. I have respect for authors. I don't even dog ear a book. I won't even fold the page. I respect the books. I respect the author. I'm a I'm a
And
huge reader. I
so
always have.
I appreciate that so much. I'm very careful with that one book for certain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life is just amazing. I'm sharing Orna's message to as many people. We actually had our first paying gig last month at a center in Fleming Island, Florida. And we're
Okay.
going back in December 7th, to do it again.
Excellent.
It's called the Create Your Own Wellness Center. Every audience is bigger than the one before. And it's
It's
not about
it's
making
great.
money, it's about being able to share her message with as many human beings as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life is just good. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
I think that's beautiful because truthfully, that's how and I don't mean to say that I'm perfect or anything. That's how I try to live my life. Just in service of others. And I heard, I think it was Bashar who I heard say this, or Daryl Anka Bashar, one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something that I really resonated with. And he wasn't channeling at the time; he was just speaking. He said, "When you get into trouble, you call AAA. In America, you'd call it the American Automobile Association, whatever." And he said, an analogy to that, he said, when you get into trouble, call AAA. So in order, when things aren't going the way that you want them to go in life, you call AAA. And what that means is acknowledge, appreciate, and allow. So instead of, sitting there in a situation that you want to change and focusing on what you don't have and why you can't change it and why you can't get off the medications or why you can't lose the weight or why you can't feel better, whatever the particular problem might be for any given person, it's because we tend to focus on those things that are the why we can't, why this, why that, why not this, instead of appreciate, acknowledge, and allow. And all that really meant, and it changed my life in a way. Just hearing that, it was almost I don't like to use the cliche terms like download and things, but it was kind of a download that I had already had, and it was a guiding philosophy in my life. I'm very blessed at this point in my life. I'm in my 30s. Get to travel a lot, and actually all of my efforts go into just trying to help other people and to develop myself personally, just to try to develop as a human, as a soul. But what that has yielded, in combination of the acknowledge and just allow philosophy, is that the good things have not stopped flowing at all. I have experienced more abundance since I stopped trying to make money, and since I stopped thinking about myself and started just completely focusing on other people. And you mentioned, I don't know if this was before we were recording or once right when we started, the people that send those messages where they say, you saved my life.
Yeah.
That was in combination with the few things that I was just mentioning, those downloads, those realizations. I was getting those kind of things, just on Instagram or whatever. You get a voice note, you get a text message. I can't put words to what that means to me when somebody says that to me, and I know it might be true because I've been there. I've been there where I've been there many times, close to the other side of the veil, or choosing to maybe think about going to the other side of the veil. I was also rather sick when I was young, and I identified with it. I said, yeah, I'm this, I have this, I'm mentally ill. There's a way out. And it's quite interesting to the polarity in that, to just completely almost denounce the idea of trying to succeed materialistically and things like that. And
to dovetail with what
I
you're
did
talking
that,
about,
good things came.
yeah, that's beautiful, and I so resonate with what you're saying. And people need to remember, we are the creators of our reality. So when we focus on I'm sick, I'm this, I'm that, we manifest it into existence. I did not realize until I got well and until Orna connected with me that I had been my worst enemy all along. That I was the one responsible for the negative thought loop, that I was the one that was always looking at everything as a dark thing, never seeing light where there was light. I just was so driven to focus on that. And one of the most important lessons Orna has ever given me was the understanding that thoughts are energy. When we think a thought, it becomes a form of energy and it goes out into the universe. So if I'm thinking negative thoughts, they go out into the universe, attract other negativity to bring back to me. Of course, conversely, if I'm thinking positive thoughts, the same thing happens. And the positive stuff is a whole lot more fun than the negative by many orders of magnitude. And when we're good to ourselves, the universe rewards us.
It is. It's true. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's not selfish to be selfish. It's selfish to, knock others down and step on others for personal gain. I guess that would be a more accurate way of saying that, I guess, in my opinion. But it's not selfish to put the mask on first before you put your child's mask on. Just, like yourself, going through the transformation that you went through, the work that you went through enabled you to, now you can help others with that. It's, yes, of course, inherently selfish to better one's own personal situation and mood and, physical state. But that then in turn, that's, if we all do that, we're all, that phrase, all boats rise in a high tide. That's the point. That's what we're doing. That's the whole point of this whole new earth,
very much so.
Collective consciousness, ascension thing. That's what this is. It's for all of us to rise up. There's not supposed to be boats at the bottom of the ocean, metaphorically speaking.
And we see people who are trapped in the reality they've created for themselves. They're always operating from a place of lack. From
Scarcity.
I'm not on paper rich, but I live a life of abundance.
But you
I have
feel
everything I
abundant.
need every day. I lack for
Absolutely.
nothing that I need.
Right. And that's wealth. That's wealth. And the
It's
world has taught
priceless.
us different. It's priceless. It's truly something money cannot buy. And I resonate with this conversation so much. And it's not about me. And I love it, Brett, because I have gone through such a similar experience. And, I mean, I must acknowledge that I'm blessed enough financially to have things that I need and even maybe a little bit more. No, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not wealthy either. Probably could be, but I spent a lot of irresponsible years in my 20s.
Did I?
But yeah, that feeling of wake, and I have no problem saying this. I mean, I've probably admitted to it before, but I was on a lot of psychiatric medications and other drugs and things like that in my past, and I'm actually there's still a couple minor medications that I'm on for basic, physical symptoms that I have, but I am almost down to nothing compared to what the medications that I used to be on. There was a list of 9 or 10 of them, and now it's nothing like that at all. I lost all my body weight, half my body weight. I'm half the size. I eat better now, and just like you said, I wake up every day happy. I wake up feeling ready for anything. That's everybody who watches this show probably knows that I fell and broke my face and had to have surgery. Um, when I fell and broke my face and had you know, the actual acute injured situation, and I was assessing the injury and waiting on an ambulance, my feeling was one of excitement and looking forward to something because I knew that there was an event that had taken place. Obviously, I had a fall and broke some bones. But because there was an event of any magnitude at all, I was immediately attuned to something being there that I should be grateful for. And I didn't even once gripe about it. And it turns out that I think it's the first time I'm saying this because I'm just now getting back to doing episodes of the podcast. But I found out that I had something bleeding in my brain that I wouldn't have found if I didn't fall in the shower. And it very likely saved my life. It's not something that you see, and it's something that when it happens, it happens. So I've even gotten to the point where, not all the time, but sometimes, where something that bad happens or negative or inconvenient, I just, even then, not am I waking up grateful for another day, but even if something terrible happens, break your nose, blood bleeding in a foreign country, you don't know what to do. Not all the time, but 9 times out of 10, I still react with excitement over what this opportunity, which it took a lot of time and work and personal trial and error and craziness to get to a point of that feeling like it worked and feeling like I could see opportunity in everything. Like I was saying to you before the show, I don't know that I would actually be alive had I not discovered what was there. I was going to be flying, the pressure changes, and I was told some rather alarming things. About the condition that I had that was fixable. It just wasn't something that I was ever going to find had I not fallen in the shower. I was going to go back to the United States. That was 3 weeks ago now, or 2 weeks ago or so. And now I'm in this cool little apartment in Dusseldorf, Germany, and I'm loving it. And I love the city. It's great. The people are nice where I'm staying, and I'm just going with the flow. Like, this is the most perfect recent example in my life of just looking at something with opportunity and abundance. And it's like, let's say you have $100,000 and somebody steals $50,000. You could look at it two ways. You could say, shit, I just lost $50,000. Or you could say, wow, I'm really blessed still. I have $50,000 in the bank and most people don't.
Mm-hmm.
That attitude is, and I really, really believe this, is what keeps one going through those hurdles. It's not, I used to think it was discipline and fortitude and things like that, and it's truthfully much more simple than that. It's just staying in a grateful, acknowledging the good, and abundant state and not letting anything that's happening in your situation, in your timeline right now, get you to a place of low frequency. Because only, in my opinion, if and only if you get to that low frequency, are bad things going to continue to happen, or are the bad things going to continue to look worse to you, or maybe get into a loop. Otherwise, you've got a real quick way out, I think, for most situations. And I don't mean to say that to downplay people's issues, because these things take time. But once you get to that point, and I think, Brett, you might agree with this, once you get to that point where you're just waking up feeling good because everything's an opportunity, that's the loop you get in. And it's just the same as that loop of medications and depression and anxiety and all those things. It's just another loop that we can hop onto. And that's one of the messages that I like to convey, and you're conveying it very well. And you're a shining example of that. So that's just kudos to you. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm happy to have shared that. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. I wake up every day thankful that I've been given these opportunities, because, most truth of the matter is, if I'd have stayed on psych meds and hadn't had the carnivore experience or whatnot, this conversation wouldn't be happening. I probably would have already checked out, because
And
taking those meds over a period of time can shorten your life by a third. Studies have shown very clearly. And I might fall, my heart might give out tomorrow. It's okay. I will have enjoyed and died happy.
That's
and what more could you ask?
Definition of wealth. We think wealth and we put a number on it. Jeff Bezos, $200 million, that's his wealth. Like, how do we quantify waking up happy in the morning? How do we quantify knowing that if we passed in an hour, that we'd be okay with that? I mean, call me crazy, but I think that's a little more wealthy than $200 billion.
I agree. I agree completely.
I don't know if Jeff Bezos is okay with death. I haven't asked him, but I guarantee there's some billionaires out there who are still afraid of an earthly death. And I think people who aren't, if for a realistic reason, not because they're reckless, but because they've had that spiritual knowledge that we're not us. We're that meat suit having our soul in a meat suit having an experience, and we're just going to pop up out of the water when it's done. And
it was interesting. I experienced 3 past lives last year through a QHHT session for the first time. And that cemented for me the reality of reincarnation. And I realized, if you don't have to be afraid of dying, what do you really have to be afraid of?
Yeah. Going into the low frequency.
Why do I need to worry? Why do I need to worry? Why do I need to be concerned? Why do I need to have any doubt in my life?
Ever.
Because there's nothing to fear. In reality, as I see it, unless there's a bear licking its chops from 50 yards away and looking at you like you might be dinner. What is there to be afraid of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go through that experience, but even then,
I don't either. But
I know what's on the other side. I just prefer it not to be a bear.
I'll take a mountain lion could come have me for dinner, but no bears.
That sounds quick. No bears. Yeah.
Would you like to see and hear? Well, you don't get to see Orna, actually. Would you like to hear and feel Orna's interview?
I was going to say, if we can see Orna, I think this might go mega viral.
Oh my gosh! If I can make that happen, we both my.
But yes, and I was just going to ask you. Do you tend to get more direct information from Orna in the moment, or do you tend to ask her questions? You mentioned earlier that you had somebody that you had.
Well, it's been over a year that we've been connected, and in the beginning, it was mostly me asking questions, and now she taught me another really important lesson. The answer to all the questions that I had are always right in here. The answers are within us.
Yep.
We just have to do the work necessary to get those answers revealed. And for me, that's through meditation.
We're very similar. We're going to become good friends because we both live in Florida, and we're very similar. Yeah,
we are.
I don't channel. I've had extraterrestrial, interdimensional. I'm not sure exactly what it was or what it is. I've had those contact experiences, both on purpose, going through like CE5 protocol type things
Mm-hmm.
and initiated contact, and completely unexpected and unintentional. Like
That's
by
awesome.
myself with groups of people, I've had those experiences, but I don't channel. I've never started coming out with that kind of thing. But I do. I'm a massive proponent and practitioner of transcendental meditation. I probably spend just about as much time as most people spend on their job in trance, just meditating, and
It's
that's
beautiful.
where I get a lot of. I guess you would use the word downloads. I mean, that's where I get my life guidance. That's how I make my life decisions. That's why I have an apartment in Dusseldorf, Germany right now. Never been here before until earlier this month. That's why I do the things I do. They're very much game time decisions, but they all come from that place, from what was downloaded, I guess, in trance. I have a respect for people who channel because I don't see it as necessarily another level or anything. It's just a different. I feel like it might be what I'm hearing in meditation, but it's just not coming out to other people. That kind of thing. So I love having this opportunity to speak to different. I guess speak through different people to different entities. It's quite cool. Actually, you're in Jacksonville. The gentleman who trained you went to a channeling class. So the gentleman that taught Daryl Enka to channel Bashar, he lives in Jacksonville. He's
I
a
had
good
no
friend of
idea.
ours. Yeah, his name's
Interesting.
Tom. His name's Tom Masari, and he was episode 2, I think, of this podcast. And yeah, he lives right there in Jacksonville, and he and his wife are both
Interesting.
very, very good channelers, and she is a medium. Um, and oh my goodness, she took me through some crazy stuff with some medium sessions. This is stuff she said is just nah, it couldn't be anything but coming from the other side. They're amazing people, so I think it might be cool for you to meet them, just because they're in Jacksonville also. But yes, I would love to hear from Orna if you're if she
Certainly.
are willing to grace us with that. Absolutely.
Just it won't take me very long to bring her forward. I won't hear most of what she says.
You can watch it after.
Every now and then, I might pick up a word. My physiology, though, listens to all of it. And there have been times when she's given a beautiful message to somebody and they've gotten emotional, and I've come out of the trance wondering why somebody threw a glass of water on my face.
Right.
And it turned out my body had a physiological response to what Orna was saying. Anyway, but it won't take but just a moment. And she will announce, "I am Orna," and say something very nice and polite to you, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Then you can ask, let's go with 3 or 4 questions and see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes for sure. Open for it.
All right, let's get her out here.
Thank you, Brett, and we appreciate you.
Greetings. I am Orna. It's a pleasure to be in your energy, Tyler. I understand you have some questions. Please ask.
Hello. So Orna, off the top of my head, are you from the Arcturian galaxy? Is that
My family is of Arcturian descent. Our families and several other families left the Arcturian system many millennia ago in search of knowledge and information that would allow us as a family to ascend to higher understandings of knowledge, to higher dimensions ahead of what our planet was proceeding at. I'm a light energy being. I am blessed to be on a mission from Source, and I have great fondness for those who are currently living in the Arcturian system. But I am not, nor have my family been, fully Arcturian for many years after we ascended to the 10th dimension, and we exist in light and energy only. We hope this answer suffices, and if you have other questions, please ask.
Thank you. They say here, on Earth right now, and of course, I personally believe that there are many potential timelines, given the collective consciousness and the state of that. Many people say that they're going through spiritual awakenings, that we are in an ascension lifetime of sorts. That's one example one could say. We've also entered the age of Aquarius recently, I believe in the year 2000. Could you expound upon that a little bit, the state of humanity and the state of our ascension at this point in this timeline?
Humanity finds itself in the most interesting time because the planet is gradually already on its way to the fifth dimension. The timelines are going to shorten for many people. What I mean by that is the timelines that Brett and you are in currently are of a high vibrational mode, for you both are seeking how to be of service to others, how to help uplift communities, individuals, etc. You're in the higher timelines, higher vibrational timeline. Bashar recently accurately explained how it's for many who are not vibrating at the same frequency or at the higher frequencies possible, they're going to view things very differently, and they're not going to experience the 5D timeline until they increase their own vibrational frequency. Humanity is in many parts of the planet at cross purposes. There's a lot of dark, dense energy controlled by manipulative forces who very much don't want the planet to ascend because they will lose their power over the populations that they now control, that they are now sovereign over. Humanity is on the brink, however, thanks to the awakening of millions of humans who are coming to recognize that something is just not right. The old structures, the old ways of doing things are no longer functioning properly. They're decaying. They're becoming invalid. And humans that are awakening, who are focused on being of service to others, who seek that unconditional love of Source, are helping to uplift individuals, communities. Love will lift the planet to the fifth dimension. The love of loving beings, having human experiences, contribute directly to the ascension of the planet. It's not going to happen in the blink of an eye. It's going to be a gradual, slow process, slow in a 3D sense. But ultimately, as 5D Earth moves farther and farther away from the 3D, people experiencing the 5D who are vibrating in the higher frequencies will see themselves in the timeline, the highest vibration, and the sense of freedom will be overwhelmingly beautiful. And in 5D, humans will be able to create without limits, without the old 3D rules and restriction. It's a beautiful time to be in existence, to be alive, and I am grateful to be a part of assisting the planet and its population to ascend. Do you have other questions?
Thank you for that answer, Orna. First of all, very much thank you. I guess I would ask one more question, Orna, and maybe you could only speak for yourself here, but of course, a lot of people end up becoming conduits, channels, mediums, etc. Is that something that that every human has the ability to attain, or is it something that people are simply chosen for? Is it how does that work?
All humans are born with the ability to channel. All humans are born with the spiritual gifts, the clairs, etc. It's just depending upon what type of life they were hoping to live, what kind of challenges they were hoping to succeed, triumph over. And when they learn that they're blessed with these gifts, It's always specific to the individual, but everyone can learn and develop these skill sets. I connected with Brett before Brett incarnated into this life, and we had came to an agreement that he would one day in this incarnation be the channel that I would speak through. It was many years in the making, for Brett had to triumph over his mental illness before he could begin this work. And it's proceeding as planned in a beautiful way. And I'm grateful for Brett's willingness to sacrifice his time and energy for the benefit of so many who are going to receive the joy that will come when the planet has completed its ascension. With that said, everyone has the potential to become a channel. Through meditation, one can hone your skills and create a reality where you are the channel. If that's what you resonate with, you are very capable of doing just exactly that. I hope that answers your question.
It does, Orna. Thank you very much. And I've spoken to other entities from different systems and planes and such, and I've received a similar. I've asked that question a few times, and I've received a rather similar response. It's, not the same, but similar. So it's very comforting to hear. It's a positive thing. There's hope there. So I appreciate that work. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Different beings, we are all sharing basically the same information. It's just we each have our own perspective.
Yes.
And the information from different perspectives will resonate with certain populations more than information from yet another perspective might. So Source is trying to make sure that all of humanity hears this message of ascension, and then it will be up to the individual to choose whether or not they're going to endeavor to be a part of it or not. But my message for everyone listening today, focus on love. Love is your greatest tool. It is your greatest gift. When confronted by difficulty, ask yourself this question: what would love do? How might love resolve this situation, this issue, this challenge? Trust your heart to guide you, and always remember, Source loves you unconditionally. You are a creation of the one Source, the creator of all love, light, and energy. Be at peace. I am Orna. I am glad I was able to spend time with you, Tyler. I look forward to possible future discussions. Continue your great work. And I will leave you now. And
thank you very much. Much gratitude from myself and on behalf of everybody else who hears this. And hello, Brett.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Felt good.
Thank you for using your meat suit to channel Orna for us.
You're very welcome. The greatest feeling I have now in life is when I've channeled Orna. It's the after the feeling of love and appreciation is just so overwhelming. And it's beautiful, and I'll never be afraid to channel her.
You can see it in your eyes. You can see it on you. You're glowing. You're happy. Like, I can tell you're happy. I can tell you're in a state of just, I don't know if it's bliss or just absolute, pure, authentic contentment.
Bliss pretty well covers it. It's as close to bliss as I understand the word. It's just glorious.
It's absolutely palpable.
I'm just so overwhelmed with gratitude when I think about this, because what I've overcome, what I had to go through, there were many times I thought about checking out, and I'm so grateful I didn't, because this has just been the greatest. These last 6 years have just been so amazing for me, and I'm thankful. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share all of this.
Absolutely, Brett. And I'm thankful that you're here too. Your story is one of hope, inspiration, and what I think most important, what impresses me the most is that it's not a story of the past or a story of, it is a story of triumph over things that a lot of people struggle with and can identify with, especially in America, in the West in general. Really, I am only saying that because I don't want to speak for the East. I have not spent a lot of time in the East, but I do know the West is struggling as a whole, and a lot of us are thriving. And I think just the way that you present yourself, the way that you tell your story, and the proof in the pudding, obviously, really puts a hopeful message, pardon, out there for people. I mean, particularly young men, of course. You're a man. You know, young men like to look. They look at men who have what they want, which might be happiness or fitness, whatever it is. We tend to look to men who have a state of mind or the thing or whatever it is that we're seeking, so we can find out how to, achieve that ourselves. And I love what you're putting out there. I love that you really do seem to view this, but with a complete smile on your face, as not a sacrifice, but as this is the way I'm going to use my self. This is the way I'm going to use my time. And it's inspiring that you had that realization almost, I mean, I'm not saying in any way negative, but in a little bit later in life,
Mm-hmm.
because it even paints a more hopeful picture that, like, people think, a lot of times people may think, how am I going to change that? Or how am I going to, I've been this way for so long. I've been on the medications for 40 years. I've never meditated. You could say a million things by the time somebody gets in their 30s, 40s, 50s. No, it doesn't have to be any of those ways. And you just look. And yeah, I absolutely am going to get a copy of The Words of Orna so I can check that out. And yeah,
I appreciate that very much.
and I can recommend it a little bit more, but I can't recommend what I haven't read yet. So I got to read
Certainly,
it.
certainly, that's fair. I have no
Though
problem with
knowing
that
Brett,
statement.
Though knowing Brett, I would suggest that you read the book if you're a reader at all and you're interested in what you just saw of Orna or channeling or any of this kind of thing. It's always good to support artists and authors and even other entities who are channeling through artists and channels and things like that. From what I know of Brett, I would confidently say I endorse you checking out his work. So please do so, as I am going to also.
Much
And,
appreciated. Much appreciated.
so yeah, Brett, where's the best place for people? If they're trying to find you, if they're trying to get a hold of you, if they want to work with you, if they want to just connect with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Okay, if got a website, if you want to book a readings with me, and for a premium, you can get a reading from Orna. And that's at our webpage that my wife and I share. It's, I always miss it, spiritlife.space. For some reason,
Spirit
that
Life
URL is hard
Space.
to,
Yeah. Okay.
spiritlife.space. And if you want to talk to me, have questions about the carnivore lifestyle or anything to do with spirituality, you can reach me on Instagram at thankful.carnivore.medium. Remember the dots.
The dots
And
are important.
I answer all DMs. I don't leave people hanging. Because your time's as valuable as mine is. And I'm happy to interact with anybody who's got a question. I love meeting new people. I love having conversations, especially on the metaphysical stuff. I can talk this stuff for hours and
Forever.
not feel the passage of time. And I think
No.
you and I could have one of those all day conversations
Yeah. Yeah. Brett and
very
I had
easily.
had a little bit of a lengthy pre-podcast conversation, which was quite pleasurable.
It was very much
And
so.
I
And
feel that we'll
it
have
wasn't,
more.
I was shocked. We actually talked for like 40 minutes before we ever started
I know
recording.
it went by really quick. I was like, wow. Yeah. But hey, it's all good. That's why I do this. They call it selfish, but it's pleasurable to me to meet folks like yourself and have these conversations, and call it crazy, but now make these connections, inspire somebody, even if it's one person. That's enough. That's, if we can do that, That's wealth. That's enough.
Well said. Well said, sir.
Yeah. Well, all right. Brett, Lloyd, we really appreciated having you today. Orna, we appreciate the channeling from Orna. Absolutely. The Words of Orna, available on Amazon by Brett Lloyd and Orna, prefaced by Brett Lloyd. Check out spiritlife.space if you'd like to see about Brett and his wife's work. If you'd like to book a session, if you'd like to, I've checked out the website a little bit. There's some information on there. So if you'd like to see that, and obviously your Instagram, it's thankful.carnivore.medium. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I am a follower of Brett's Instagram, and he has good content on there that you can see a lot of what he's got going on. And yes, it does seem that he answers his DMs. That wasn't a lie. So if you have any questions, hopefully that Brett can answer them for you. If they weren't answered here, we can't touch on absolutely everything. Any questions, carnivore, spirituality, whatever it might be, channeling, Orna. Of course, I'm going to go ahead on a limb here and say that Brett's probably not going to be upset to hear from you. So, yeah. Brett, do you have anything that you'd like to say? Anything that you'd like to kind of throw out there to the audience before we, sign off?
Trust your heart. Always let your heart lead you, because your heart's never going to mislead you.
Yeah. We say heart-mind connection, and I guess that's there, but truthfully, I think heart-centered is the way that struck a chord with me, that the heart's not going to mislead you. It's just not. It's like the way we understand the laws of physics. Like, that's just, what goes up is going to come down. The heart,
so true,
is not going to mislead you. If you're truly heart-centric, you're going to be okay. It's not going to necessarily be sunshine and rainbows in the three-dimensional sense the whole ride. But the end result, I think, will be okay, and it will be one of growth. Brett, it was an absolute treasure and pleasure to have you here today, and I appreciate your time and your energy. Absolutely, I really, really feel a connection with you. We've got a lot in common, so I'd love to stay in touch and converse
certainly
more. And when I get back to the United States, I'm coming back to Florida, so hopefully we'll see each other in Jacksonville.
I'm looking forward to it. That'll be awesome. That will truly be
absolutely.
Awesome.
Connection is important, and I mean that. Absolutely. I will be seeing you in Jacksonville. All right, guys. Well, thank you, everybody who is seeing this. Shout out to Jane Lavascio, the best partner in podcasting there is. She is We're All In This Together on Instagram. And she just started a new channel. It's called The You Community. That's on YouTube. So we'll put links to that in the bio. And with that being said, another episode of the Immersive Podcast. We thank you so much. We thank the folks at Doton and Tavel from GFL, Gaia TV, Unified TV, all of you. And a special shout out to Portal to Ascension, headed up by Neil Gore. We have been working with them recently, my partner Jane and myself. I believe actually it's today at I think 5 or maybe 7 p.m. I'll double check that, but Portal's having an Orion conference, and I think Jane has a speaking engagement in that. So we'll keep you all posted on that. And just thanks again for being here. Light, love, and magic. Thank you to Brett, and adios till the next one.